at the Prairie Livestock Expo in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And yes, we've been here in the Manitoba Sheep Association booth, just relaxing for some time. But with me right now is Sheri Bieganski. Bieganski. And we're going to talk about raising sheep. But first of all, tell me a bit about your farm and where you live and who's involved.
Okay, so our farm, we're located just a few miles west of Carberry. I'm actually fifth generation on the property that we're on now. It's been primarily cattle, but just in the last 6 years, we've incorporated sheep into our farm. So it started out small with the sheep. We just wanted to diversify a little bit, and it's kind of snowballed. And today we're at about 250 breeding ewes, and our ewes are purebred Dorset, purebred Poll Dorset, and there's a handful of purebred Suffolks in there also. So it's grown very quickly.
I should mention this is the last segment of the show here, sponsored by the Manitoba Sheep Association. But okay, so how come sheep and you've kept the cattle?
Yes, well, we've kept the cattle. Been around cattle my whole life, love the cows. And like I said, the sheep it started out, it was just going to be a diversification to try to graze some just select areas on the farm. We have some marshlands, some hill lands, so areas you can't get into possibly spray, or you don't want to spray because of the wetlands, and sheep were kind of the answer for grazing some of those places. And it just kind of, they grew and grew. The market is growing right now. The demand for lamb in Canada is stronger than it's ever been. So it's kind of just been a good fit for us. So it's my husband and myself, and we have 2 young children, and it's kind of afforded me to stay home while I'm raising them and getting them into school. And with the sheep, I can take the kids out with me and do some chores where I can't really do that with the cattle, small animal, big animals. So the sheep are a nice gateway animal for the kids because they're just smaller and they don't kick like a cow does. They're not going to run you over like a cow does, and it's just a good starting animal to get kids, into livestock, hopefully down the road, and hopefully one of ours will stay on the farm and take it over and be the 6th generation. That'd be fantastic. So it'd be great.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Manitoba Sheep Association. I mean, how many members would we have, and how active is it?
So we're over 500 members right now. We've been seeing tremendous growth just this last year, especially. We've had, from January to the end of September, over 127 new members, new producers, and we've never seen that before. So I don't want to say we're overwhelmed, but we're definitely ecstatic. So many people that are seeing the potential in our industry and the growth, and we're trying to help them out wherever and whenever we can. But it's something that we're working on, and we're always trying to progress and do new things. So
you told me the demand is that, but 100 and some members in 1 year, expanding your association. So what is the overall reason for that, do you think?
Well, I think there's lots of different reasons. There's a lot of young people coming back to the farm, and maybe don't have the capability of purchasing a large farm off the start. Sheep are easier to get into than cattle. There's less capital cost involved to get into sheep. And there is a growing trend back towards that lamb meat with the population, the way it's changing. They just want to eat a lot of lamb meat, some mutton, and also the fiber part of it. Like, we all know wool comes from sheep, and there's a lot of that younger generation is going back to handicrafts. They want to know where their clothes come from. They want to make their own clothing. They want to know where their food comes from. They want to buy local. So it just all kind of fits together. It's just one big circle.
When I look behind you and I see the retail cuts of lamb, boy, there are a lot of cuts, right?
There are a lot of cuts. There's a lot of choices. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to see our recipe cards here, but yes, there's so many different things you can do. Like, there's been this mindset around lamb And it's partially come from the war years, because they were fed mutton. They were fed the cheapest, definitely not the prime cuts.
Right.
So we're slowly getting away from that mindset that lamb tastes yucky. Like lamb, when you eat young lamb, say 100 to 120 days old, it's very, very mild. It doesn't have a strong flavor. Whereas if you're eating mutton, it can have a stronger flavor. But the beauty about it is there are people who like the mild flavor and there's people who like the strong flavor. So it just depends on your personal taste, how you want to prepare it. And there's so many different ways you can prepare it. And it's really not that hard to cook. It's really not. It's something you just need to try, and you're probably going to like it if you do try it. So.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but being a cattle producer first and now a sheep producer, how much lamb do you feed your family?
Well, so growing up on the farm, my grandparents, we had hogs also. So we've always had a variety of meat. We've always had beef, we've always had pork, we've always had some chicken. And I didn't grow up with lamb, but we have lamb in the freezer now. We have family that does a lot of commercial fishing, so we always have some pickerel in there. So we just eat a big variety of meat in our house. So I can't really say that we eat one more than the other, but it's just I like variety. I don't like to eat the same thing every day. I like something different, so I try to prepare something different for us all the time. And there's lots to choose from.
So where do you market?
Where do we market? So like I said, our flock is strictly purebred registered flock. So we sell a lot of rams. We sell a lot of ewe lambs for breeding stock. So whoever doesn't kind of make the cut, so to speak, for breeding stock, they go for market, for like butcher market. So we have a few different buyers that we sell to, kind of depending on the time of year, because we also lamb at different times throughout the year to try to hit those markets. Like we try to capitalize on the Christmas market when the prices are higher, Easter market when the prices are higher. There's other ethnic holidays throughout the year where the prices fluctuate. So we try to take advantage of that by lambing different times throughout the year. So there's lots of different ways you can come at raising sheep. Like it's not quite as, I don't want to say stringent as beef, but there's a lot of options for people to look at.
Have the genetics changed like they have in pork and pigs and so forth?
They have changed, maybe not to the same extent. If we want some really different genetics, we kind of have to go out of the country. So our flock being mainly Dorset, we just actually imported semen some from New Zealand and some from Australia this last summer, and we just did an AI program. So we've got a whole group of ewes that we AI'd, and that's where some of our new genetic base is coming from. So it's going to be very exciting come April to see the new lambs and how the new genetics is definitely going to change our program a little bit. And coming from New Zealand and Australia, like they're, that's where it's at for sheep. Like they've been there, done that, and they know what they're doing. So, I hate to say we're kind of playing catch up, but we kind of are a little bit, but we're improving all the time. So we're getting there.
Anything you'd like to add about the industry or about the association?
As far as the industry goes, there's just so much potential. Like there's so much growth. Like we're only producing between 35 and 40% of our domestic, and so many people come to us and say, where can I want some local lamb, like where can I find it? I go to the store, I don't want to buy frozen New Zealand lamb, I want domestic, where can I find it? So we're trying really hard to make that connection between consumers and producers so that they can get the fresh local. And yeah, it's just, we just keep plugging away at it. We've got a great group of directors at the table right now. Everybody's working really hard, and yeah, it's kind of just the future's up for us. We're pretty optimistic, and yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sheri Bieganski, and working with the Sheriff Stock Farms, and it's been a real pleasure visiting with you. And enlightening me on the sheep industry. I mean, as Glenn Mumford said a while back, he thought he knew something about sheep, but after he'd finished talking to you, he realized that he had something to learn, and you taught him. So it's great. This is the kind of work we like to do. So this wraps up the third segment from the Prairie Livestock Expo, and the major sponsor for this was the Manitoba Sheep Association. This is Harry Siemens for the Farm Show.